I'm Andrew Greenberg, co-creator of the Fading Suns universe and one of the designers on Emperor of the Fading Suns, Passion Play, and many more games. In fact, the team making Noble Armada has been integral to more than a dozen role-playing games, numerous miniatures games, dozens of computer games, a plethora of mobile games, and even a couple card games.
In the beginning was the Fading Suns, then came Emperor of the Fading Suns. And these begat Passion Play, War in the Heavens, Lords and Priests, and many more, until Noble Armada.
Noble Armada began life as a miniatures game set in the Fading Suns universe. Now on its third edition, it features an amazing array of starship figures, perfect for a video game.
A starship combat game of broadsides and boarding action. Players maneuver to line up their best shots, deliver devastating damage, and close to end it with blasters and cutlasses on the enemy vessel.
There are great rewards in this Kickstarter. Just check them out, they're right over there. Rewards range from the PC game to the mission editor to copies of the miniatures game to the miniatures themselves. Increase your support to get signed versions of the rulebooks and hard-to-find spaceships. At the highest level, you become part of the game. Engage in an epic Noble Armada battle at JetCon. We really appreciate your support and look forward to what we can create with your help.
Hello, welcome to another Reactor stream. My name's Chris with Click Team. Today we're going to talk about what's going on at GDC. Then we're going to play a game called Tisnart Shapes that's made in Fusion that's going to hit Steam soon. And then we're going to work a little bit on Noble Armada as the Kickstarter for that Made with Fusion game is about to end. And I'm the one working on it. So what's going on at GDC? I went to GDC yesterday and met with several Fusion users. Had a meeting with Nintendo, which was kind of cool. The most important thing that happened is a game by one of our longtime users. I never get the name right, but Hempule is what he is known by on the internets. Has been working on a game called Baba Is You, and he submitted it to the IGF, Independent Games Festival, which is held every year at GDC. Under several categories. Let's see, he was a final. He ended up being a finalist. So IGF finalists and winners, and you can see that he became a finalist in the grand prize, as well as excellence in design, the Nuavo Award, Nuavo Award, and best student game. And believe it or not, the award ceremonies were the day before, and he won for excellence in design, and I believe he won best student. And he actually got cash prizes for that. And here's a picture of his booth that I saw, and he was there's his winner tag, and he was talking about the game. If you haven't tried the game, you should really take a look at it. It's a pretty good game. Basically, you solve the game by changing the logic in the sentences. So here's a good example. It says wall is stop, which means you can't go through the wall. But if you just move the word out of the way, you just all of a sudden can move around. Here's another example. Key is, and then there's the word more up here. Push the word more in, and suddenly all the keys replicate. So it's a really cool way to make a puzzle game, and obviously the judges thought so too. Interesting to note, this game's actually being made in Multimedia Fusion 2. And the logic that you see here is actually being done with the Lua object, which is pretty cool. I tried to tell him yesterday to move to Fusion 2.5 so he can have all the bug fixes and stuff that come with it. He was concerned that the Lua object wouldn't work with 2.5. But 2 and 2.5 are essentially the same product. 2.5 just introduces a bunch of new features, but all the objects that you had in 2 should work in 2.5. I haven't come across an object yet that doesn't. Maybe Lua is that one, but you know, we're going to test it out and see if he can't move it to 2.5. But we want to give him a congratulations. It's well deserved and earned. The game's really cool. There was a crowd around him when I went to go see him yesterday, and hopefully this leads to bigger things for him. So next, want to play a game coming out soon on Steam. I believe we have the page up right here. By another longtime user, Tisnart, and it's called Tisnart Shapes. I'm a sucker for puzzle games. I love a good puzzle game. I've played this already, the standalone version, which we're going to play now. And it's really cool. I mean, his games may be deceptively simple looking, but they're very complex as puzzle games go. So let's give it a shot and see what we've got.
Tisnart.
So, gameplay, puzzle play, achievements. Let's start with gameplay. Little interest. Interesting story. Okay, so we got to get 2 hearts and 5 blobbity blues. So clicking the groups gets you deductions, standard puzzle fare. Got moves.
Go.
Alright, so we need more red. Okay. 13 moves left. There we go. Let's see what the cards do. Okay. The dogs apparently like the game. So let's give the second level a shot here. Now we got 5 items we have to get. What just happened there? Alright, so let's turn it into a power up. Oh, what's this? What?
Go.
Alright, 5 hearts, 9 yellow, 3 blue. There's our blues out of the way. More yellow. Timer's a bit much. More cards. I wonder what the cards do. We only got 4.
Go.
A little too much hand holding, in my opinion. Blue. He can tell it's intriguing me. What?
Yeah.
I need lots of purple. Running out of time. Or taking too much time. Also, I'm in danger of losing a card if I take too long. Okay. So now I'm down to 3 cards. So that board finally got a little more difficult. Not a lot of features in it. Detail.
Yeah.
Captain. Guess that was a bad move right there. Oh no! I'm gonna lose a card. The horror of it. Boom. Oh boy. Big goals.
Yeah. Oh, just made it. A multi-grabber power-up. Yeah.
Okay.
is happening right now. Got to make it to level 15 to figure out what the cards do. Oh, look at that, it kept the power up. That's kind of cool. Oh no! Who knows? Oh man, I'm gonna lose a card. The horror of it all.
Good job. Good job.
Knowing me, I'll go back and try to get the 4 cards. Oh, so now we got something new here. Let's see what it says. Unique ability of each power-up to help you beat a level. Click on the grabber to pull the slider down into position. Alright. Okay.
Combo.
That's kind of neat.
Go.
We'll finish this board and then that'll be it. I think we've gotten a good taste. Boom, done. So that's a taste of Tisnart Shapes coming out on Steam very soon.
Goodbye.
Let's get there Tuesday. Goodbye. March 26th. If you like puzzle games, it's worth checking out. You can see that there's a ton more stuff on later levels. I enjoyed his first game that he released on Steam, which was Tisnart Tiles. He likes the word Tisnart. It's pretty good too. So check those out if you like puzzle games. So the last thing we were going to do today was I'm in the final 4 days of Holistic Designs Noble Armada Kickstarter campaign. For those that have backed, thank you. We've reached the goal, so we're going to be able to add a few more extra things to the game to round it out. We're currently in a stretch for the Mac version, but more importantly, he's changed this particular goal to 7,000 for the Inquisition, which, for those of you that are familiar with Fading Suns or the Noble Armada tabletop RPG, are a pretty cool character set that you can have. They're kind of church neophytes who go around and spread their religion in the universe. So those could be playable characters if we can now hit 7,000. And one thing we wanted to do today during the last playtest, we noticed that our level editor, which I'll open up real quick, which is still kind of buggy because it's in the transition from trying to be user-friendly, rather being programmer-centric. So, in fact, let's show you what it looked like before, just to get a difference. So let's go back to, I think that's the earliest one I have on this computer. Oh, yeah. So this is what it looked like before we began the conversion to make it into a end user tool. It's still kind of graphical, but as you can see, there's not a whole lot of explanation other than these tooltips, but not the most user-friendly piece of equipment. Like if I hit the edit button, I get a wonderful what is this object type? I think it's the dialog object. Let's take a look. Yeah, the dialog box. So very internal tool type use, and then we've gone ahead and modified that. And part of what the campaign's for is to make a really polished version of it, which originally was just going to be a mission editor, but now will include a campaign editor, which will allow you to build an entire campaign, which will make up of multiple missions, which are events that happen in a solar system. So let's just take a look at one. This is the one I did for the last demo myself. So now it's a little more user friendly. You can set what ship you want. You can set the rank of the crew on the ship. You can change out the loadout of the weapon systems, including none. One thing I should probably do is, and it's going to be hard to do because you also can select what houses play, but each ship type actually has different weapon systems, or rather firing arcs, as we talked about in a recent post. So the best way to describe it is the Explorer may have 4 arcs of firing, whereas the Galliot may only have 2. And it's different per house. So I'll need to figure that out because we'll want to be able to shut these buttons off if it's a particular house, which will be hard to do when you select multiple houses because, as you can see, it rotates through the different ships. So we'll have to figure that out. But, that's all part of the process of trying to make it a little more user-friendly. Now, before, when we edited a planet, you had that ugly dialogue. Now we've kind of made it look a little nicer, a little more end-user friendly. What we're going to try to do today, though, is if we were to go here and double-click to edit a waypoint, you'll see that I have all these options here. Now, one option is no battle, which currently doesn't do anything. And we talked about it, and we're going to turn no battle into an actual option. And I believe to do that, to get started, I need to remember exactly what no battle is. And to that regard, I'm probably going to need to get some notes going. Documentation is your friend. So my drive. Okay. Noble Armada. And the reference documents. Wonderful. So you can see here, this is actually referencing all the ships and their different functions, their cost, class name, the range of the cannons. Null means there are no cannons. So a Galliot for Hawkwood has no fore or aft cannons, whereas a Dakata's Galliot does have cannons on all 4 hardpoints. So each house and each ship type actually has different rankings. But part of our documentation process was to make this complete set of reference material. So I want to see if I don't seem to have created it. So we're going to have to create a new tab. And we're going to call it level editor stats. And the first thing I want is mission type. And then we're going to put here no battle. And then we're going to get the other ones. Try to remember what they are. So campaign, we got defeat all enemies. I know no battle's the default, so no battle, defeat all enemies. And then we have capture ship. And then we have run blockade. And then finally,
I think that's it. Yeah, so those are the only mission types we have right now. You change your house and the different ships. So what we're going to do for no battle is instead of a default battle occurring, we're going to have your fleet and the enemy fleet, or the NPC fleet that you're not engaging, pass you by. And we'll allow you to pass a story, because that's one thing we're trying to do with the Noble Armada, is to build on the Fading Suns universe story. And you may want a battle type where you'd actually engage the enemy. Now what we're going to do, though, is we'll have this default setting in the game for no battle where they're not hostile. But if you fire upon one of their ships, then it'll switch into a hostile battle. So that's what we're going to try to code today. And I need to make sure that I write this down correctly. So we're talking about the frame level editor, and it is a waypoint editor, and I'm going to make this back to 100%. I want to make sure I get my variables that I'm passing correct. So we're talking about the mission type button. And let's see if we can find that button up here in our editor. You know, the easiest way to do it, one of the benefits of 2.5 versus the previous versions. Mission editor. I didn't name the button right. Or I didn't type the name of the button right. Let's see. So to make sure I get it correctly, go. Edit, find objects, and there it is. Okay, so set selected option to battle, and then add one, set one, and string mission type. Set mission type to active button mission type. Select option. So select option is a value I'm storing here. Defaults to 0, so that would mean that that's value 0, value 1, value 2, value 3. Now we know the mission code or value, and we'll just make that bold. That way when I come back to it later, weeks later, and I don't remember what the values are, I have a reference sheet. Very important to make as much reference as you can. Maybe it's in here. Nope. So there you go, level editor stats. And we need to change the color there to something. And we're going to go with, I don't know what, this blue here. Cool. Okay, so now we're going to go to the game itself. Okay, so let's look at how the battles are done. If I'm not mistaken, they're just default go to battle with you. So what we're probably going to need to do is go to, there's our friendly code, camera control. Trying to remember where I put all the enemy AI stuff. Well, we could sort and find. Enemy taking damage, campaign mode, no. Controls, no. Only 1,292 events to go through. Enemy AI, there you go, 649. So I need a pen, and I need to write that down as we chew through this together. 649. Okay, unsort. And then we find that group. Okay. So yeah, everything is just basically, you go to battle at the beginning of the game. So being as this is a just a local variable, I don't need to pass the variable anywhere else. I'm going to add it to our temp values, and I'm going to say battle state. Okay, and then on all these events where we're actually doing stuff, specifically targeting friendlies, let's go ahead and set that to 0. Because we still want the default state of the game to be they attack you, so we'll say 0. Another thing we should probably do is make sure that that object is not I want to make sure I'm not using that variable already. So we'll just sort just to make sure. We don't want to program a problem. And it looks like that's the only place. Good. So back to AI. Good. And then battle state 0, battle state 0, low armor. Let's see. That's all right. So what these events are is the engine uses randomization and a bit of logic to determine what it's going to do. So here are the individual ship orders. If the ship ID equals the selected ship ID I'm passing in the targeting computer, and then it compares, in this case, if the death switch is on, that means skip it because that ship's not usable. But if on the following ones, if it's equal to if alterable value selected ID -1 of the targeting AI computer object, which is here. In layman's terms, it cycles through these each ship at a time, and then based on certain conditions, in this case random, not random, if in a previous event we've determined that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, these different values, then it executes these various maneuvers. Make the T, which is basically making sure that if I were to just quickly give you an idea, it means if ship 1 is here, making the T is having ship 2 here. So this is the ship trying to shoot on you. By making the T, you turn your ship into them, and you have less exposure to their cannon fire. So if these cannons go off, they'll miss, and only the cannons in the facing you will hit. So making the T is an evasion maneuver for you to get in closer to the enemy. And then, of course, you'd then want to take your ship once you're close and rotate so that you could broadside. Going forward, that means rotate the ship towards, move towards set ship angle. So we have a target enemy friendly vessel, rotate the ship towards it. Whereas broadside is, again, making your ship alongside, or rather facing to. Alongside is trying to steer the ship alongside the enemy target. Retreat is when you're damaged, or the game for in future conditioning, you just want the story-wise have the ships retreat. This allows the ship to rotate, as you can see, away from the angle of the target fleet. And then speed up, slow down. And then we have enemy AI execution for rotation and movement. So once these events have selected, then this is what executes that actual movement. Cycle ship selection, which is us going through the up to 8 vessels that you have. And this is where we do our firing. And here we're going to also want that condition. So we'll put it on the bottom. And we'll say here, value. And again, the default is 0. So if battle state is 0, that means the battle's on. And then I don't believe we'll need to worry about these. Oops. Oh boy. Does that happen to you guys when you use it? It happens to me occasionally. When you have multiple frames open, multiple projects. Doesn't hurt to put it on every event, because none of this should be executing unless there's a battle. I don't want to close the entire group though, because I want the ship to still be able to maneuver like there's, intelligence behind the fleet. And we'll go ahead and set that to 0, and we'll set that to battle 0. And then laser fire, no shooting when it's state 1, so we'll go ahead and place it there. And this is the actual triggering of the weapon in each case. So that's actually not laser fire, so maybe it is. That's Mason, that's regular cannon fire. It should be. In any case, battle state 0, then we drag it down to here. And then we'll drag it down to here. And I feel like we're missing a gun. Oh, there it is, the enemy standard fire. Okay, good.
Good. Good. Okay, so let's default this value to 1 and let's test. Let's make sure no firing occurs in battle state 1. I don't know if screen resize will work on the transmission. Let's take a look. Actually, we'll just all right. Now that value should be defaulted to 1, so these ships should not attack. Let's see what happens. Here's my fleet. So far so good, they're not firing on me. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of it. Some of you may, some of you may not. But what we're going to do is we're going to add that object that I've changed the value on to the debugger. Okay, so now I'm going to add this object to debugger at the start of the game. We'll run the game again. Random battle. One ship this time. Hopefully they don't shoot on me. Okay, so again we got our one ship. There's the enemy fleet. They're not attacking me now. The reason why I put it on the debugger is when the object's in the debugger, it provides you the ability to edit things in real time, which is kind of cool for debugging. So no one's shooting at me yet. Let's see if we can swing right by. Good. Ah, see now they're hooking me. That's not good. So we found something that is still happening. So we need to find the hook code. Enemy AI. No. Where do I put the hook code? There you go. Friendly to enemy. Enemy to friendly. Okay. Select an enemy vessel to attempt boarding of the enemy. So we go here, here, and then we add that 0. Good. And then this is to check for enemy grapple. So we're not going to set my TEP string. We're not going to give the command to grapple. So none of these events will trigger. So let's try again. Video, but it's not. So as soon as I'm done doing this test, we'll show you how that works. Ilker, the artist, came up with some really cool graphics, and then using some code, I was able to really make it work well and give you the sense of apparently your video.
Your will be done.
Battle. Enemy fleet. My fleet. The Mazarin and the Jewel. He's gonna hit the rock. Oh,
just know he that was happening. This is one of the debug things I gotta figure out. Whenever it collides, it pulls him in. I figured out why yet. As soon as he gets clear, though, I can navigate him. Of course, I burned up all my fuel. Okay, so the enemy fleet's near us. And no boarding or attacks yet. Apparently I just tried to board him. We'll board. Alright, so then we pause the game here with the debugging tool. And then I can go into here and all the objects I've added, including temp values, will show up. I can go here under alternate values and I can go there and I can switch that to 0. And then when I play the game, let's see if they start attacking me. There you go. So now we know the switch works. So we're halfway there. Excellent. So the next step is we're going to go into initial setup miscellaneous. Let's see here. Yeah, we could put it here, I think. Just want to make sure there's nowhere else that I already have like code. I think actually it's in the campaign code. Here we go. Campaign types. Good. So let's go here, insert a new comment. Battle type 0. No battle. Guys, make sure you comment your code, especially when you have a project you work on a long time and it's just you. Otherwise, you'll forget what you did. Campaign battle type, and we'll set 0 for no battle. And then we're going to put start a frame, because we only want it to execute the first time it runs. And the group is open at start, so that's fine. Drag that to the top. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to set that battle type to 1. We got to find the object again. There it is. So now battle state will equal 1. Cool. Now, not going to be that hard to set the battle type on, right? So what I need to do now is where we have weapons collision, which I believe is potentially here. We just simply need to, we got slug fire, fire friendly, and I'm trying to see all the different weapons types we have. Because the laser I thought was a different object. Let's just double check to make sure. Oh, wrong object. Yeah, that's the slug fire. Oh, here we go, fire friendly. Ah, so it's all embedded in one object. See, let's see. Been working on it for so long, sometimes you don't know. So there's your standard cannon fire. Here's what was the Mason cannon. We're going to change it to something else. And then the laser beam. And then this is Gatling gun fire. So I only need to test those two things. So I could literally say under my mission type, because I think I'm going to make it new events. So we'll just say here, and then we'll delete it, and then campaign mode, paste, collision between slug fire and enemy. We set this back to 0. And then we duplicate that event, and we switch to the other fire type, which is fire friendly, and it's the same effect. Okay, now we got to simulate that test. So to simulate, we're going to remove the debugger. Actually, we'll leave the debugger on, but we'll also say value set. That's strings. Set battle state to 1. So we're going to simulate passing battle state 1, because I don't know if the campaign battle type will load during this simple test. questions though. It depends on the video and how big the video is and how long it is. But there's actually many tricks you can do, and I'll show you in just a second, because I think this test will show that we finished this goal. I don't want to campaign. I want to finish. Okay, my fleet. Main fleet. My fleet. Sun down here. They're up here. So let's just put the Crusader up there. The mouse isn't working very well today. Okay, so we're kind of in range. I'm gonna slow him down just a little bit. Close enough to get some exposure. There we go. Nobody's attacking me. But if I were to attack them, excellent. These guys are like, what did he do? Cool. So it's time to up version because we added new stuff. There we go. Now, how did I do the title? That's a great question. So here is the intro. So the first thing you'll notice is these objects. This one is a background object, but then you have this animation here. So it switches between these two images. And I believe on this frame we have, let's find it here. That's not it. So there's that zzz effect, and that's this here. Well, this is the fade in. So from here, it's this one image. These are active objects, and then get that effect. It switches to this. So the background changes, and then I make the various objects appear, which you would see under Create. So this is the lightning being created, and then this is a counter that determines which electricity you create. And then if your electricity counter equals 1, then we create that flash effect. And when the flash effect is over, we then create all the title elements. And I believe when the flash effect is at a certain stage, let's see here, we then change that animation sequence. You can see right there. So that's what gives us this.
Your will be done.
So really the biggest object in here is the flashing effect objects, which due to Ilker's art capabilities isn't a whole lot. I mean it's frame size wide, so it is a decent sized object, but it's only 13 frames. And you can get away with that with proper use of animation. And then I believe there's this flash animation which does this little kind of glow effect, and it's 26 frames. So those are the two biggest objects. In the previous frame here, you get this kind of effect, and that's really, I believe, right here. It's 9 frames. That's all there is to it. And then the Games Art logo does have the same thing. And then that's just a static image. And then, oh, it looks like it's got a bit more. Hey, you know, you might have just helped me discover something. I don't know why we would have 2. So let's take a look at that. So we've got Games Art Scratch. Layer 1 time equals 2. What about this one? Interesting. So anyways, that's how that works. And then, you know, the planet, when you're in the main menu, basically what we do here.
Your will be done.
So we have this object. This is the start button. As soon as it goes up, it automatically just jumps to the main frame, and the gate graphic, which I believe is right here, we set the scale from the beginning to 2, and then we scale it down to 1.
Your will
So
be done.
that's the native 1 ratio. But that's how we get that effect that it actually transposes on. It's 2 separate frames. So this is 1 frame. This is the second frame. Then we hit the start button. We get rid of that. Once it's off screen, we then go to the second frame. And you can't even tell that it's 2 separate frames, which is kind of a cool effect. So I hope that answers the question, Jeff. So there you go. We'll play a quick board. That's good. Shouldn't have done that. Let's run it again. So, for those of you who are aware, right houses to pick from.
Your will
These
be
are all the
done.
campaigns currently made. We just recently launched the ability for users to backers of the campaign will have access to the mission editor early at certain levels, so that we can start experimenting with mission creation. May the pan creator guide me to make sure the game gets finished and finished well. Ships are jumping into this system. It's a decent sized fleet. Here's the solar system map. For those of you who haven't seen me show the game before, you've got your fleet, enemy fleets, and these planets. The idea, depending on the level currently, is to defeat all the enemies. We're working on different mission types now. And then to move around, you've got to navigate to these different planets. So if I wanted to go to this planet, I'd have this fleet in my way. So if you contact a fleet, typically depending on how the level's built, you'll have to go into combat. Still gonna work that out. Alright, so they're just sitting there. We'll see if we can pull them out. We'll send in a sight. Soften them up. Currently there's no damage from the asteroids, so you can actually use them to stop. Which is great, because now I can use that little bit of momentum we just got. So I shot 3 times. These cannons are now offline until they reload. So I rotate the ship. And hopefully they're still in range. Yes. Thanks. So that's a bug, so I'll just blow him up. Is he? So even though I won the battle, it looks like I have a boarding to deal with. Because he deployed his Marines before he was exploded. So let's try to deal with these guys. 9 turns left. He's got 5 boarding parties, so he could actually really mess me up. Let's drag it out a little bit before the anti-boarding devices on the ship can eject them. Because I know they got nowhere to go. Just gotta make it 3 more turns. In this particular mode, we were thinking about making it stackable. So like this guy's only got 7, and we're wondering if it'd be cool if you could take like this squad and stack them on top of it to have either a higher number or pull from here to make that a total of 18. You know, just a little feature to add. It's contrary to the tabletop that it's based on, but we thought might be a cool idea. Come on, you gotta kill that guy. What? Okay, good. And then game over, I win. And we salvage some Firebirds. Ship damage is minimal. That's good. Just a little bit of repairing. Everybody got promoted except for the Marines on this ship. Now we get to go to the next planet. Shops. There's always 2 shops for each planet, which you set in the editor. And here they'll let me do more repairs, but you know what? I'm good. There's a weapons cache. I've got 2 of. I don't have any of these. We'll buy one of those. Where configure ship weapons is here. So I'm going to put them on here because this is my faster vessel. And we'll put the laser beams on both sides. We'll give them a Gatling gun up front. Let's take out the next one. Okay, fleet formation is set. I gotta work on this too. Alright, so there is, geez, 7 ships to deal with. Let's put the Cypern in there and see what he can do with his new weapons. Gonna get range. I'm gonna broadside this guy right here. Here's a trick in the game, right? Let's say this guy was out of reach. You can still target derelict vessels, and you can see that I've kind of got a line of sight. So if I target him, I can still hit the target. Otherwise, that's a cool little trick we're trying to do. If you guys can think of anything else that would be cool like that, we'd love to hear it. Overwhelming odds, ship's mine. And so far in the game, what ship mine means is I can scrap it and get money for it. So that was the vessel, but now I'll have increased money in the end of the game. So that's kind of cool. So anyways, that's the game so far.
Your will be done.
Sorry about the volume. Does anyone have any questions on the game? I don't see any other questions here. For my diehard Reactor streamers, if you guys want to post comments on the Patreon what you'd like me to build next week, I'll do a fresh build of something, an example. Would love some ideas. And if you're interested in Noble Armada and want to throw out some support, this will be the last time I stream it on the Reactor. We're finishing the campaign right here. We're trying to hit 7. So that we can add a whole new set of ships and characters to the game. It's not a house; it's a church, and you know they're pretty adamant about their beliefs and spreading them, whether you like it or not, to all the peoples of the lost worlds. So yeah, check it out, and I'll post the link up. It's actually up already on the Patreon for today's stream post. You can support as little as $1, and we'd appreciate it. Again, the Reactor, I'm going to start posting new stuff for the next giveaway. I did just recently, if you missed it, we got the zooming example up, which is right here, which turned out really well. We can watch the trailer real quickly. But it turned out pretty good. I make the cheesiest trailers, don't I? Yes, someone's already built an example, and I have an example for when we hit 50 pages. Just you can build Minecraft using Firefly objects. So I showed you how to transpose movement into the zoom. And then using the zoom as an attack effect. And even how to turn your map into a actual map. Through a little bit of trickery. We should do the map next here. This is the actual option using the game, but you can zoom it out to the map level. Kind of like I did in Noble Armada. So I can zoom out and check where enemy ships were. So for Reactor streamers, that's now free and available on the Click Store as part of your membership. Which you can see all of these objects are currently available to you for free. So anyways, I think that's it for me today, unless you guys got some questions. Which game looks better than GTA 5? That's a tough pill to swallow in the belief spectrum. But yeah, we're not trying to beat Grand Theft Auto. Cool. Well, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. I will stick around for any more questions, and I appreciate you watching.
I'm Andrew Greenberg, co-creator of the Fading Suns universe and one of the designers on Emperor of the Fading Suns, Passion Play, and many more games. In fact, the team making Noble Armada has been integral to more than a dozen role-playing games, numerous miniatures games, dozens of computer games, a plethora of mobile games, and even a couple card games.
In the beginning was the Fading Suns, then came Emperor of the Fading Suns. And these begat passion play, war in the heavens, lords and priests, and many more, until Noble Armada.
Noble Armada began life as a miniatures game set in the Fading Suns universe. Now on its 3rd edition, it features an amazing array of starship figures, perfect for a video game.
A starship combat game of broadsides and boarding action. Players maneuver to line up their best shots, deliver devastating damage, and close to end it with blasters and cutlasses on the enemy vessel.
There are great rewards in this Kickstarter. Just check them out, they're right over there. Rewards range from the PC game to the mission editor to copies of the miniatures game to the miniatures themselves, Increase your support to get signed versions of the rulebooks and hard-to-find spaceships. At the highest level, you become part of the game. Engage in an epic Noble Armada battle at JetCon.
We really appreciate your support and look forward to what we can create with your help.